The Chinese building industry is experiencing an unprecedented boom as China's economy rapidly grows. From 1995 to 2005, China's building stock nearly tripled and is expected to nearly triple again in the near future. In this context, the energy consumed by buildings as well as the related CO2 emissions could grow by 160% by 2050 compared to 2005 levels. However, the Global Buildings Performance Network's research shows that with ambitious actions, it is possible to maintain Chinese buildings' energy demand and associated CO2 emissions at today's levels. How can China deliver this mitigation potential from buildings? To investigate this topic, the GBPN has recently commissioned the Economist Intelligence Unit to undertake a survey on how companies in the real estate and construction sectors approach energy efficiency investments in China. This report from the GBPN network highlights the challenges and opportunities they face and suggests how policies can drive investments in energy-efficient buildings.
China is going through a very rapid urbanization, which means a tremendous amount of new development, new construction on an annual basis. When you have 15 to 20 million people moving from the countryside to the cities, it means a tremendous amount of new buildings to be constructed. And I think to the extent that better building standards, especially with respect to energy efficiency, are introduced to the market, I think it'll make a huge impact on the country.
The scale of new construction in China is the challenge. How do we manage to implement the codes and standards which have been designed in regional China at the rate at which the construction industry is progressing?
I think there are two big challenges. Every year, China adds 2 billion square meters of new construction. You have to make sure new buildings are built very energy efficient. Another thing is you have to make sure you will retrofit all the existing buildings, because right now in China there is a huge stock of existing buildings. It's about 50 billion square meters.
In terms of the energy efficiency measures taken in China, it dates back really to the very beginning, when the first green building code was established in 2006. It's a very general code that tried to address the general principles of green building in China that deals with the conservation of land, conservation of energy, conservation of material, and also conservation of environment.
Well, the central government and local governments are imposing more stringent building standards. And also the Western rating standards such as LEED are becoming very popular. Developers and investors are becoming more aware of the need to have better, more efficient buildings for a higher return on their investment.
The opportunity really in China is to better engage with the willingness of the industry to move and implement world's best practice.
China is right now in the process of extending and expanding the scope of green building standards and codes to cover those specific building types like high-rise, commercial buildings, hospitals, schools, etc. I think ultimately implementation of codes and standards rely on the availability of human resource as supported by all kinds of technical resources. So you really need to cultivate, and expand upon that human resource. Educate, train professionals in really big numbers.
I think GBPN's role is mainly sharing best practices gained from more advanced countries like Europe and the US with other countries, sharing information, sharing knowledge about energy efficiency in buildings with developers, investors in China, and also other stakeholders such as government officials.
What the GBPN can help do is help the government enforce and implement these standards and codes, and also to broadcast the great work that China is doing internationally.
GBPN is working on getting several reports out. One is summarizing the Chinese experience and put it in English and distribute it in the international community.
You know, China has limited land relative to its population, and as a result, cities are developing in a very dense way. So, and I think they can offer lessons for other Western countries in terms of high density development in urban areas.